In 2024, nobody's safe. Last week, Nicki Minaj and the Young Money team went on an evisceration rant towards JayZ, but despite being one of the most richest men in the world and a billionaire in hip-hop, for still being spiteful and evil towards Lil Wayne. Now this chastisement will come less than a week later after Lil Wayne was snubbed for the Super Bowl and Kendrick Lamar was chosen instead. Many of us who are aware of Drake and JayZ's lengthy back and forth over the past couple years understand that Lil Wayne not getting the Super Bowl was a result of him being collateral damage in the Drake vs. Kendrick Lamar beef. You see, when Kendrick Lamar was selected for the Super Bowl, it was also revealed that Drake had turned it down 2 years in advance. However, the timing of it is impeccable and just pours into the narrative that JayZ never liked any of the Young Money team, from Wayne, Nicki Minaj, Drake, and Birdman. Nicki Minaj was one of the most outspoken rappers in hip-hop, so when she had an issue with JayZ, she let it be known. Now, Nicki gave JayZ an evisceration Twitter rant about him snubbing her idol and mentor Lil Wayne, who gave her a shot in the music business for the Super Bowl. But what made Nicki even snap in this matter and just had her filled up to the top and ready to pop off? In 2015, JayZ acquired Tidal Music for $56 million. Now, Tidal Music was an upcoming DSP, similar to Spotify and Apple Music, but didn't have all the tips and little trinkets that made it popular. They didn't have as many users, and the interface wasn't as smooth. So JayZ had an idea. Now, JayZ bought the company and will integrate Tidal Music into hip-hop culture and will make a proposal to very few high-profile artists, such as Nicki Minaj, Kanye West, Beyonce, Rihanna, J. Cole, and Drake, but he backed out at the last second for his own deal. A major selling point that added shock value for the company was Tidal was the first artist-owned global music entertainment platform, with the goal of paying artists 4 times the regular streams than they would receive from other DSPs, such as Spotify and Apple Music. Now, we all know how in the music industry, when it comes to being a writer, producer, an engineer, ghostwriter, you barely get paid anything, or at least not what you're worth. And that was a very big issue. And so much that the slogan of Tidal was built by the artist for the artist, and especially being a black creator, we know how you get effed over by the record label all the time. So JayZ thought he had a fix, but Nicki Minaj still felt it was bad business. Less than 6 years later, JayZ would show his hand as one of rap's biggest capitalists, as he sold Tidal Music, the company that was built by the artist for the artist, centered around having unity and black people, or black creators should I say, being paid fairly. JayZ sold Tidal Music to Square Inc., which was a company owned by Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, for $302 million, quintupling his investment in less than 7 years after he made the deal. One of the most compelling selling points of this deal was that JayZ made each of the 16 artists, co-founders of the company, owning a 1% stake. So when Tidal sold, they made at least $1 million. Square Inc. paid over $300 million for 80% stake in Tidal Music. However, JayZ and the Roc Nation CEO, Desiree Perez, remained on Tidal's board to run the company. Now, you see how I mentioned the name Desiree Perez? Now, that name is going to have a bigger part in the story, so pay attention. Desiree Perez is on an island of her own when it comes to controversy. Now, Desiree Perez used to be a criminal in her past life, and she was a drug and narcotics dealer who was caught in 1994, moving that weight, and in exchange for being caught, she struck a deal with the feds for a 5-year probation. Now, she cooperated with the United District Attorney and took down over 2 Colombian drug cartels, but she's right next to JayZ, the gangster rapper who hates snitches and loves moving weight. Very controversial. Nicki Minaj has conveyed some strong feelings towards JayZ about him selling out Colin Kaepernick, addressing how one Negro took the knee and the other Negro took the bad, referencing how JayZ signed a controversial NFL deal that would essentially make him the social injustice and the music management manager at the NFL. And long story short, what he did was he would choose who performs at the Super Bowl, hence why Kendrick Lamar is performing. Now, what made it a big problem is that Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee for police brutality before every game for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, what JayZ did was he signed his deal in the name of social justice reform, which pretty much overshadowed what Colin Kaepernick had going on. And in the eyes of black culture, JayZ was playing massa in the fact that JayZ took on that role of social justice reform. He pretty much just pushed Colin Kaepernick out the league, and he hasn't played a game since 2017. Outside of JayZ snubbing Lil Wayne, or the fact that JayZ technically amplified the Drake vs. Kendrick Lamar beef, the real reason that Nicki Minaj hates JayZ is that when they sold a Tidal company for over $300 million, Desiree Perez, who she calls Deseret, personally called her saying that they made no money on the deal and that she wanted a quote-unquote $1 million, almost as if it was free and that, she was doing Nicki a favor. She would have to sign this agreement in under 24 hours. Now, I'm not a lawyer, nor do I speak legalese or whatever language that lawyers talk, right? But any contract you have to sign within 24 hours and it's your first time being presented towards you is a bad contract. That contract might be worse than a 720. Because what is in this contract where I can't look over it for more than a day? Truth be told, Nicki Minaj felt that she was getting punked and will go on Twitter and say that every day a new man pushing the age of 60 years old is getting fingered in the bussy and then made to come on the internet to lie on me. God's in control. Bookmark this tweet. I advise you to never mention me again. Now, Steve Stout was a very successful and established record label exec who created United Masters. If you know Russ, if you know Emily Choppa, that was created by Steve Stout. He would weigh in on his opinion on an interview with The Pivot and Ryan Clark. And he would talk about the terms of Nicki Minaj's deal and how most artists had the option between millions of dollars or getting equity in the company, and she probably obviously chose equity, and that's why she never got paid.
The Super Bowl thing, I want to get back to that for a second, man. I'm not here to defend anybody. I really don't like when people who open up doors as black people get shitted on publicly like that. I just don't like it. I think in that case, what Nicki did was wrong. To bring up Tidal, his streaming company, that he gave you equity in, that you didn't sign the fucking paperwork, and that's the reason why you left millions of dollars on the table. That man didn't do nothing to you. To be talking about somebody who's putting, whether it be Kendrick or Wayne or Drake or Usher, he's putting them on the biggest stage. That's what we should be applauding. That's growth. But the crabs in the barrel thing, oh, not him, fuck him, da-da-da-da-da. We can't do that. That's black on black crime. I don't like that. And maybe that's what it is. I think Nicki's great. I'm great artist. Very successful career. Don't do that. Just like, let's not do that in private. This social media thing where you start shooting at people like that, like, and not like a jab. I'm talking about like, fuck him and this and that's a little too much. I just think that's a little too much.
Stout was speaking on the situation and how Nicki was upset that she didn't sign the paperwork, and that's why she left millions of dollars on the table. Now, Steve would also offer a very interesting perspective of the fact that JayZ was actually providing a lot of artists opportunity, and it wasn't just black hip-hop rappers, there was other people. You know, it was Chris Martin, it was Alicia Keys, it was Rihanna. It wasn't just rappers who were receiving this benefit, and that everyone couldn't have had a negative experience, but this also goes back to the fact that Nicki Minaj and Jay have had their own underlying issues, and not to say that she personally got snubbed, but it may have been a possibility.
It's crazy. Me and you were supposed to be at Fanatics. The week before Fanatics happens, Cam and Mace didn't sign the contract. We banned from Fanatics, but who's at Fanatics?
I'm gonna start saying names.
Yo, it's wild, man. It's wild.
The hate is crazy.
Nicki responds to this clip with a clip of Cam and Mace from their own show, It Is What It Is, addressed now that a similar situation with JayZ and why they never pulled up to the Fanatics Fest in New York, which in reality is because they were banned from the festival and could never go in the first place. Now, do you know who runs the Fanatic Fest? The White Diddy, Michael Rubin. And do you know who the White Diddy's best friend is? Or should I say closest friend? It's JayZ. So it's clearly a bunch of politics behind the scenes being masked as communication and contract issues. I doubt that Nicki Minaj wasn't compensated in any form, but when you hear that a company that was barely surviving and was pretty much a newborn into the music game sold and quintupled its investment and ROI and you only got $1 million, which feels like a cent, you feel like they kind of use your influence to push a bigger agenda, or should I say a bigger product that you never really got the real benefits from. Nicki Minaj will continue her tyrant rant. They gotta keep the conversation on me, so don't ask about these allegations against their BFF, talking about P. Diddy. I mean, the 30-year-old T is far from stale, patterns, yet Stephen A. Smith, Ugly Alien, Stout, and Dick Breath, etc., I don't know who that is, etc., all talking about Onika. Why are they talking about Onika? Worried about the tea of a 15-year-old child who was railroaded, but no comments on the tea and baby oil that's been going on for decades as in recent months. Now, Nicki's obviously talking about her baby father, should I say her husband, Kenneth Petty, who was charged for, R-wording a woman at knife point back when he was 15. If 15-year-olds need to be held accountable and told they can't move their past, then what about the 30-year-olds who groomed and sat by and was silent, etc.? Oh, right. Let's keep the blogs focused on Onika. Short and Stout Dick don't want to talk about him. Friend them. LMAO. What I do want to highlight is that it's very controversial that Nicki Minaj is going at JayZ for pretty much being in hiding, even though 50 Cent and other individuals have taken the same angle. Diddy is JayZ's best friend. He's right at man's. I'm not entirely sure when they became clicked up in the best of buds, but they're at the Rock Nation brunches, they're at, listening parties, and you can tell they're two rich billionaires having a lot of money, so they're friends. But what's very interesting is it seems like Nicki Minaj is almost using the dirt on other people in their past to clean up what her husband Kenneth Petty did wrong. Now, Kenneth Petty, I know nothing about him outside the fact that he's just, a 40-year-old gangster going off on the internet about Offset, telling him to come outside the VMAs. That dude was trolling Offset so much that his ass got put on permanent timeout. he couldn't leave the state of New York. And another thing when it comes to Nicki's, it kind of hurts when Nicki talks this gangster talk about, being protected by gangsters and how if anyone wants to shoot a fade, I'll give the winner $10 million, which pretty much she's bigging up her husband, who is only, I guess, a killer, or she's maybe afraid of, because everyone else doesn't take him serious. Maybe in New York, but the general person looking at her is like, listen, man, you 40 years old, still talking about being a street ninja. Like, grow up, man. Own a business, start something. And it's like, if anyone wants to ever meet with Nicki Minaj or her husband for a fight, they could just say, hey, let's meet at a school. Let's meet at a playground. Let's meet at the YMCA. And considering that he's a sex offender, he can't meet at anywhere within 100 miles of any children place where children are. And when you're a sex offender, of course, your name is on the registry. People gotta know. People pretty much know where Nicki Minaj lives because he lives with her, and that since he's a registered sex offender. Now again, Nicki wants to protect her man because she's like, hey, he was 15, he maybe was taken advantage of, and that is entirely true. He could have been taken advantage of, but to be caught for doing R-word into a woman, and she's saying that you had a knife to her, listen, that story is kind of crazy, and I don't want to speak on it, and I don't want no parts, because that is wild.